about how Omicron is going to make zero COVID impossible. I don't think that they found Omicron in Xi'an. I'm not clear about that, but Omicron has been found in Hong Kong. Hong Kong also has a zero COVID policy because of China's zero COVID policy. And their zero COVID policy is just falling apart because of Omicron. Like Hong Kong, you need a 3-week quarantine.
Wow.
They started implementing a 3-week quarantine in 2020, even though people were like, that's a little overkill. Like scientists and doctors were like, that's too much. But they've kept it in. So you have to be in a hotel room for 3 weeks. But from some countries, you have to go to a government quarantine center for a week first in Hong Kong. And then you go back to your hotel for 2 more weeks of quarantine. So this is how severe Hong Kong's like zero COVID policy is. Like everybody has to, register for contact tracing. Like, so Hong Kong was like, okay, there was a ProPublica article recently about this Hong Kong American woman who went home to visit her parents and then was like, I had to be in quarantine for 3 weeks. And it was like not fun. But then when I got out, I felt safe because everybody was wearing masks still, but there was no community spread of COVID. She went in December.
That's funny because I just read an article today in Hong Kong Free Press that says there's now a quarantine for 170 guests at a Chinese official's birthday party.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
I stole your thunder.
No, it's just that I was still making the previous point. But
I wanted to interrupt you to make the same point that you were going to make, which is my prerogative.
Everyone who's been tuned into Meditations Unending, I already predicted that. And they knew it.
We're doing really well, guys.
I got to be honest. As I started talking, I saw the look on your face, which was saying that I was interrupting you to make a point that you were going to make. And I knew that. And yet I still felt I had to continue to make my point.
Well, I mean, at that point, you're all in, right?
I know.
It's too hard to backtrack.
Conversations aren't about listening to the other person. It's about enforcing your will on top of.
Is that
oh no, I lost this conversation.
You just got to wait for the opening. So you're just waiting until you can say
and
the
then
thing.
Blitzkrieg.
Yes. Yeah. But my point was that like people felt like,
well, thanks for watching China Unscripted.
I'm going to start a channel called Shelly Uninterrupted.
That won't have us on it then.
That's the only. Okay. So my point was that Hong Kong was like, oh yeah, zero COVID. We're like, our quarantine is the strictest in the world, et cetera, et cetera. It was cutting them off from the business and financial industry that was basically Hong Kong's lifeblood, but they were like, this is worth it, right? And now Omicron is basically, like you were talking about, 170 guests at this Chinese official's birthday party in Hong Kong. They all have to go to the quarantine center in Penny Bay because 2 of them tested positive for COVID. And a lot of the people were very pro-Beijing politicians. Like, remember Junius Ho? He was one of the kind of guys in during the protests who was, anyway, people hate him.
Okay.
Like, I hated Hong Kong.
Then I hate him too.
A pro-Beijing Hong Kong official. He's one of the people that was at this birthday party. All have to go to quarantine for 3 weeks.
Nice. Well, this is interesting. Like, I was talking on an episode about how the Chinese Communist Party, part of their ideology is, struggle. And they have to struggle against heaven, earth, and man. It's interesting to see how this ideology has affected the zero COVID policy, that they think they can just strong arm a virus, which is stupid. Very stupid. But it's interesting to see how like this adherence to this worldview could actually cause irreparable damage to the Communist Party's rule. Like the economy tanks because they keep saying we have to have a zero COVID policy.
I mean, Hong Kong, they just restricted people from being able to eat after 6 p.m. Like
what?
Like restaurants, nobody's allowed to be open past 6 p.m.
It's true. Omicron at night.
Yes, the funny thing is they did that because there was Omicron transmission during a lunch hour. Like people got it at a restaurant, but it was during lunch. So they're shutting down after 6 p.m.
But that doesn't stop the lunch
right.
transmission.
They tried to do that before in the beginning of the pandemic, and there was too much public opposition.
So now everyone's like going to eat dinner at 5 p.m. Like that's not a thing people do in Hong Kong.
They'll
Well,
have to
I mean,
cook for themselves.
or right, you have to like not eat at restaurants, right? But like they also have completely stopped flights in from a lot of countries. You cannot get a flight from the UK to Hong Kong or the US to Hong Kong.
Well, that's very
Canada to Hong
convenient
Kong.
considering all the other repression that's going on.
Yeah,
They don't
that's
want
true.
they don't want people to see that.
I mean, but you know, I think Air Canada ended up canceling their flights for 3 months into Hong Kong because they were like, we're restricting flights for several weeks or a month, and they were like, we just can't keep this up. Canceled all their flights.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, Chris, about it makes it harder for like foreigners to see what's going on. I mean, the good news is though, already in Hong Kong, there's so many independent media that are able to report on what's going on.
You know, Carrie Lam just mentioned this week how much press freedom they have in Hong Kong. I mean, everyone still needs to follow the law.
Right. And it does, you know, come in the wake of 3 independent media shutting down like within the span of a week.
Well, because they didn't follow the law.
Yeah.
No, only one of them shut down because of that. The other 2 shut down because they were scared that they were going to get in trouble next, essentially.
Well, Apple Daily and Stand, they got shut down.
There was also Citizen News and something, which this is my favorite title, Mad Dog Daily.
Mad Dog Daily.
They also closed themselves down.
Mad Dog. That makes me think of the Bell Brothers. That's not a reference you two will get.
No, actually.
Yeah. I used to have a surfing shirt that said Mad Dog on it. I thought.
No, I remember those. Yeah. They were disgusting. It's like a California surfer kind of thing, right?
Okay, I'm not from California.
Dude. Oh, rad. Sorry.
Where's that mute button?
How do we recover from this?
We don't.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's it. I've wrecked the podcast. Anyway, so independent media shutting down. COVID is wrecking Hong Kong's economy. We can never go back to
China's
Hong Kong.
economy.
Yes.
Everywhere.
Well, it's not COVID that's doing it, really. It's more like the government response to COVID. I mean, if we're going to be precise.
Yes.
That's true. And I wonder if what's happening in Xi'an now is going to make people realize that they should not lock down again for Omicron.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, because I think there are politicians in the West who just like this degree of control, or who are also in a situation where they feel like they have to try and like put on a show of trying to restrict it, because otherwise they will seem like they don't know what they're doing.
It's the same mentality as the Western companies that go into China. They see themselves failing, but they don't want to admit it, so they stay in China even though they're losing.
Oh, wow, we're in a pretty deep hole. I know, let's dig ourselves out.
I mean, it's essentially that's what's happening, right?
Yeah.
In any country that has zero COVID policy, they either have to admit that they were wrong, or they have to find some other political way to back out of it. Or because there's no solution.
I think
to such
everybody else
virus.
has already backed out.
Yeah, it's not
Except
even the
for-
zero policy, zero COVID policy. It's just like, it's like how the scientific community before the pandemic was the mainstream scientific viewpoint was that lockdowns and quarantines don't work, don't do them. And then because of China largely and some bad science from Imperial College of London, people bought into that, we have to do lockdowns and we have to do quarantines. And now we're seeing that isn't really going to work with something like Omicron and whatever might come next. And then you have, politicians having to be in a situation where they have to do the thing they hate the most, admit they may have been wrong.
I feel like in certain places, like in the US, a lot of places are saying we're not going to go back to lockdown.
Well, that is the thing. That's the weird thing about COVID in the US. It's like, in New York City, people are asking, when are we going to go back to normal? And in parts of the country, they'll be like, we've been back to normal for a year and a half.
Oh, but even in New York State, right? Our governor said we're not going to go back to lockdowns.
Yeah, that's good.
And it's very different in like New York City in the 5 boroughs versus like some other part of the state, right?
True.
Yeah.
But I think even New York City, they're not saying they're going to go back to lockdowns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I mean, you at least have a variety of responses across the U.S. And to some degree, there's a value in this, which is that we as a society, media, politicians can observe which of the state policies kind of work better and which don't, and in theory can adopt the ones that work better. Now, it's more complicated than that because there's politics involved, right? But from a purely scientific and observational standpoint, it's good to have a variety of responses, right?
Yeah. It's hard because a lot of people are afraid, and this is just when we need to tell ourselves, I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. From that hit Chinese movie Dune. And
I think that's
a nice little bow.
Yeah.
Thanks
I didn't think we were going to recover, but you did it.
I'm good at what I do.